The eagle-eyed amongst you, or possibly the only person watching this, might have noticed there's another Enots tap on the bench. I like the tap on the Aeronca C3 enough that I needed a tap for the C2. I thought I'd do a little hunting around, and I found this on eBay for not very much. It's another Enots tap, and it's off of a Ferguson TF20, which is the early grey Fergie, the diesel version. It's in good condition. It needs a cork, so I need to take it apart and give it a bit of a clean, but apart from that it's fine. I'll just fly the Aeronca fuel tank into view. Much like a Zeppelin, it's going to sort of appear like sort of rocketeer or something. There we are, there's a fitting on the bottom here. It's an aluminium tank. A friend of mine made it for me. And it's got a 3/8 NPT fitting. That's an American thread. So I bought a 3/8 NPT brass plug, which I'm going to drill and tap 1/4 BSP, so I can screw that into the tank, and then screw this into the fitting. Now, the eagle-eyed also might have spotted this. Before I bought these rather nice Seagull, terribly flimsy filters, which I'm very pleased with, I bought this filter hoping it would fit, because it said it was 3/8 diameter. Well, it is at this end, and due to a small mistake, you might remember the episode of Father Ted where Ted is trying to explain perspective to Dougal, and the words small and far away were used in relation to a small model cow and a cow on the horizon. Well, yes, small, far away indeed. That's 1/2 inch diameter, and that's 3/8, and there was no way it's going to go through the hole into the C3 fuel tank. But it does go through the hole into the 3/8 NPT fitting. So the plan is to attach this to a screw in top that just goes into there. So that will go in the tank with that nice big filter. That will be screwed into the tank, and then that will be screwed in to the fitting. And then they have a little extension bar. I've started making it, so I've drilled this for the extension, and then that bar comes out through the instrument panel, and you can turn the fuel on and off on the panel. And I just found a barbed fitting, a 1/4 BSP fitting as well. I've got a gascolator, an old-fashioned glass one, which will be fine. So I've got all the bits to turn that into an Aeronca fuel tank. So the first thing, Aeronca fuel tap. So the first thing to do is to drill and tap this 1/4 BSP. Fittings drilled and tapped. I was going to drill and tap a fitting in this end, but actually I had a little offcut of brass on the side there that was the right size, so I just turned it down so it just fitted inside the thread and sweated it in. So now I just need to tin this. I'm using electrical solder only because it's nice thin stuff. I've got a bit more control over how much I put on the job. Otherwise I could use normal plumber's stuff. So I need to tin this, and then whilst it's warm, just drop that on. You don't put the flame on the on this at all, on the gauze. It's just, it would melt the solder in no time. So just get this warm so the solder is liquid on it, and then just drop that on, and the solder will run through. It's already tinned. I'll just dip it in the flux so it's going to take nicely, and that should be the filter done, and that fitting can be screwed into the tank. Gauze is now soldered on, it's nice and tight. So I'm just going to wind that into the fuel tank. I'm going to put some thread sealant on. I understand there's a galvanic reaction between aluminium and brass, but it seems to be quite normal to wind aluminium or wind brass fittings into aluminium tanks. So I guess they use something. Anyway, I'm going to use some of this Hylo-type red, and shouldn't need to come out for years and years. Hopefully I'll be dead by then. Top tip for you: when you're winding a thin-walled fitting like this into a tank or anything, and you might well need to give it a bit of encouragement, then wind another fitting inside the thin wall fitting. This is a steel 1/4 BSP fitting that was just floating around in a box of stuff, and it means you can give the other part a fair amount of persuasion without any chance of collapsing it, because the brass is not particularly strong, and it's certainly fairly fragile. It's not, not a very ductile material. So that's got some gunjo on it, and in it goes. I don't really like this aluminium and brass combination myself. I think it's slightly odd in with corrosion issues, etc. But it seems to be quite common. I looked on the Aircraft Spruce website, and they sell finger strainers to go in aluminium tanks, so I guess it's alright. Anyway, that is that. And the tank is ready to go in the aircraft. That's the tap fitted with the tank in place, just behind the instrument panel there. There's a hole here for an extension bar to go through, because obviously, well, it could actually reach even leaning forward, but to turn the fuel on and off. That's off crosswards, on downwards. But my Aeronca C3 has got a similar fuel tap, and it has an extension that goes through the instrument panel and allows you to easily turn the fuel on and off. So I've made up this extension bar, which I'm just going to have to go through the hole, and I'm going to have to cut it off and bend it in a moment, so it'll sit like that. Screw through that hole earlier that I drilled in the tap itself, or in the tap handle. So I'm just going to measure the distance that's sticking out the other side, and we're going to bend that, a bit of gas, bend it over, clean it off, and it can be bolted through with the placard on the other side showing which way the petrol goes on and off. The bit that stuck out was 3 1/4 inches long, so I'm going to hold that in the vise and then bend this bit and then cut it down. Of course that tap, if I put it on end onto you, goes from sideways, or from vertical to sideways for on and off. And I actually, on the Aeronca, the thingy goes from 45 degrees one way to 45 degrees the other. So on is there and righty-tighty, off is there. So I'm actually going to have to bend this over and at 45 degrees. But I think I can do that and do it the right way. Try not to make a bunny of myself. petrol on, petrol off, magneto on, magneto off. You can see that hole there, that's where the throttle rod goes through the panel. Still the advanced retard to go on it, oil pressure and a rev counter, nice old Smith's one. Some of you may disapprove of the Jacob Rees-Mogg level of modern instrumentation, but it's really all that's needed. I can use the Hall wind speed meter, of course, and I will do on early flights just to gather a little bit of data, but one doesn't really need anything else for local flying. Well, unless you're an RV12 owner. Thanks for watching, see you soon.